because the point of emerging is that sometimes it's new, right? And I didn't know when I submitted to the CFP months ago what would happen on the threat landscape before I got here. All the work I'm going to highlight here is actually none of mine. It's my team's. None of it is uniquely mine. The cool thing about my team is when one of us gets an idea or a lead and we start digging into it, a lot of times the rest of the team will chip in with part of the investigation. So that's a really cool thing. And I do have a list of the researchers on our team on the last slide. So don't go thinking, oh, cool, Tazz is hot shit. She did all this research. No, Tazz did not. I actually did not write any of these. And all of these will be on our blog as well if you want to get a more detailed read. So I've got about 49 slides, so I'm going to go fast. And if I have time for a question at the end, I'll take it. So the first one I want to talk about is spin to win. Now keep in mind, I'm going to try to address every knowledge level in the audience. Some of you are new to InfoSec. Some of you want to get into InfoSec. Some of you have been here for a few years. Some of you are InfoSec dinosaurs. So it's okay. This is for the new people who maybe don't understand how malicious ads work. How many of you guys have ad blockers installed in your browsers? Shame on you if you don't. No, I'm joking. Okay? All right, so we'll talk about, everybody knows you need an ad blocker, but not a lot of people know why. Not a lot of people know how it works in the background. They just know that malicious ads show up on places that I go, and I don't want to get compromised, and so that may not be my area of InfoSec, but I know that I need it, right? So I'm going to try to talk a little bit about why you need it. So the concept here is that we go Google. Who here does not search for anything on Google ever? Never look for anything on DuckDuckGo? Who has never used a search engine? I didn't think I was going to get a hand. So notice I just say that a user uses a search engine, not that you used Google, right? Okay? But you go out and you want to find information about something. Everybody, to the internet! Earlier we couldn't figure out what the word for after tertiary was, and it was yeah, something like that. So to the internet's for the answer, right? So you go look up something, you find what you're looking for in the results that get displayed to you. And you say, all right, let me go check out my results, right? Because I want my information. Sad thing is, sometimes when you check out your result, you get delivered a malicious payload. So how do you get delivered the malicious payload? So here's an example. We'll walk through it a little bit more in detail in a second. How many of you teach your users to mouse over something? How many users would think that having a cookie would be a bad thing? How many websites tell you you have to have cookies enabled, blah, 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 right? So if the user mouses over something and say they saw something that said, I'm going to go to something cookie.php, a lot of basic level users. Now mind you, almost everybody in here is in InfoSec, so we understand the difference between good cookies, bad cookies, malicious cookies. But, so this technique, we taught a user to mouse over, and the user says, oh, okay, well, I'm going to go here, and it's going to pull something from and give me a cookie. What's a really bad cookie? We don't want that cookie. We just didn't know we don't want the cookie. So what I did, and I'm saying I'm being the dumb user, right? Not Tazz did this, but I decided I wanted to go to gamingclub350.com, right? That's where I said I was going. So I put that in, I searched for that, and I went to gamingclub350.com. But when I got to gamingclub350.com, the web page comes up, right? I've got a game over here, right? I've got the roulette wheel spinning. Down here I've got the little animation for poker and blackjack, and, you know, I've got all these games that are going on this website. But what I don't see is this GET request that's going on. GamingClub350.com is not located at that IP address. I didn't ask for anything from that IP address, did I? I searched for the Gaming Club, and I got the Gaming Club link back in my Google search results, and I went to it, right? And I didn't ask for anything from this other address. I also didn't see anything coming to me from the other address. Why did I not see it? If this right here was my entire computer screen, What's happening here is all the way across the atrium down the hall over there. I don't even see it being loaded. The attacker has made it off of the frame with an absolute positioning. So let's do a walkthrough of a realistic example that we actually found in some telemetry. We all want to stream movies, right? Streaming is better than downloading when you have the bandwidth to do it, right? Because you're not going to take up storage space on your hard drive, right? So we're going to stream a movie for the night. We're going to entertain the kids. We're going to stream it, and we're going to having a slumber party. We're going to let them watch whatever they want to watch. In this case, we found a user that was looking for the movie Kiss Me 2011. Now, keep in mind, we don't keep all the users' data and stuff like that. We were actually actively hunting an advertising campaign, and we were able to track this back through the telemetry, so we don't have any private data on the user. This is just the search that they had done, that had been done. So this was the fourth result down, and the user clicked on it. Takes us to the page here. So it says, I want to watch the full movie, and the server that's going to deliver it to me is called FileNuke, right? This is regular. Google search it, find it, click a result. Result gives me a page. Page tells me, do you want to buy it? Do you want the whole thing, or do you just want to stream it? We want to stream it. So I click on that. I'm going to go there, and I'm going to stream it. Do I want to download it, or do I want to watch it now? Well, I don't want to pay for your service, right? You use free service. I'm going to go ahead and just watch now, right? Just stream it for free. Well, while I'm streaming my movie, what I don't see is the malicious JavaScript that's getting delivered to me in the background on the rig landing page. Whoops, wrong button. Which was actually at gf.bookbeauty.in. Did I at any point in time click on anything that said that in this sequence? No, I didn't. All I did was decide that I wanted to stream the movie. And it's coming to me from FileNuke. Here's the hash or whatever the identifying sequence of numbers are for that movie on that server or that mirrored server. And all I did was go watch a movie. I didn't click on a phishing email. I didn't do anything else. But there was an ad on the page that was being rendered, which was delivering this to me because the ad service had been hijacked. And this is why malvertising is such a big deal. This is one of the, we call it an emerging threat because actors are changing their tactics and how they're moving their traffic around. But this is something that's a serious problem. You can get bad stuff just because you visited a legitimate site that uses ad services to keep the lights on. There is a magazine that I won't even go visit their page because they require me to disable ad services. Or they require me to enable ads. If I have ad blocker, I can't read articles on their blog. Okay, well, I'll just go read somebody else who got it anyway, right? So you're vulnerable just because you viewed it. So we'll talk about Angler. Who in here does not know what Angler is or hasn't heard about Angler? Okay. Angler, it leverages what we just talked about, malvertising, right? You go to a page, that page decides, I'm going to get content. Well, I'm going to go, part of the content I need to deliver you is somewhere else, and when it goes to fetch it, it's actually fetching you a malicious payload. The analogy I like to make is how many of you have ever been to Thanksgiving dinner at somebody else's house and everybody brought something? Everybody ever been to a potluck Thanksgiving dinner? Go to grandma's house, right? Well, when you look at the beautiful table in front of you, you don't know who cooked what, do you? You know grandma cooked most of it, but you know your auntie who ain't so clean, she made something and you would never eat at her kitchen, so you want to know what did she bring so that you don't eat none of that, right? Okay? That's kind of how the malvertising works. Everything gets delivered to you on the page, but you don't know what you're looking at came from where. Okay? Kind of like potluck. So Angler is something that isn't new. In the grand scheme of newness, though, there have been some new activities, so we're going to go through a little quick timeline of Angler. Angler, InfoSec Nick, it's InfoSec_Nick on Twitter. He's our resident expert on exploit kits. He started looking into Angler last year and trying to track them through traditional means, block activity to them through traditional means. If you look at these challenges here, you guys can easily understand. Anybody who does blue team in any one of these areas understands why trying to just block Angler was so difficult for us, right? Anybody want to check every sample that comes to your network against 3,000 hashes? Not if you ever want content to be delivered to any of your users on your network, you don't, right? Okay. And of course, everybody put it in virus total, Andrew. See, look, all the Angler samples were in virus total, all 6% of them. So we have some other challenges in trying to block their traffic and their behavior. But we know that everything on the internet is ones and zeros, right? At some point, it crosses a wire somewhere. So we said, okay, let's back up. Stop looking at Angler down here. Let's take a step back. Like I said about last talk was perspective. Let's get a little more perspective, a little broader perspective. We know that people are getting referred. They're going to place A, their traffic is getting sent somewhere else to get something, and then it's coming back. So we took a snapshot and looking at our telemetry, and these are thousands on the side over here. 1,800 unique refers on a single day. That's a lot of refers across the internet. That's a lot of places redirecting traffic. But then we took another step back and we said, okay, where are all the refers sitting? And they were sitting at Hertzner in Germany. How many of you have ever tried to get a European organization to give you PII or data about their customers? How many times have you succeeded? I thought. But nonetheless, we reached out to them and we said, hey guys, guess what? Your network is doing a lot of referring and redirecting of customer content or of content that's delivering malicious payloads. We'd like to work with you and help you. We've been studying this actor for a while. And then we had Limestone Networks, which was right up the road from the team there in Texas. Limestone was in Dallas. And the team at the time, I wasn't part of the team at the time, was down in Austin. And so they were like, hey, Limestone, can we work with you? You have an Angler infection, basically. So we worked with Limestone, and we got a really good understanding of the back-end infrastructure that the people who were leveraging the Angler exploit kit, and these were some smart sons of bitches. Let me tell you. You talk about some really high-tech, well-funded people that had complete redundancy, logging, health monitoring going on for their criminal enterprise. They had all of it. Okay? Thanks to the cooperation with Limestone, and Limestone welcomed us with open arms because the criminals were also costing them money. How many of you guys know that when you say, hey, company X, who's an infrastructure, who here does infrastructure services or provides infrastructure services? Anybody? Okay. Servers, storage space, racks, whatever, right? So they go into the sales guy, and they hit up the sales guy, from the website, chat with us now, right? The sales guy, yes, somebody get a good sale. So they're like, hey, I'd like to buy these many whiz-bang servers, and I need this much storage, and I need this much processor performance to do these things. Or, hey, I want to buy a bunch of domains, and I want to do this, can you help me out? Well, yeah, sure, and since you're spending so much money with us, we're going to go ahead and let you have access to these things to get you started, and we'll get the rest of it spun up as soon as your card goes through. That card ain't never going through. But they don't know that, right? And the bad guys were good. They changed their personalities, they changed their tactics, they changed their wording, they changed their approach. Sometimes they're professional, sometimes they're ghetto, sometimes they're, prim and proper, sometimes they speak really good English, sometimes they don't. I mean, it was really hard trying to profile the guys, right? And the sales guys and poor Limestone were getting taken to the cleaners. Limestone said, we don't think so. They decided we're going to fight back, and they teamed up with Talos. So we got to look at their infrastructure based on the snippet that we had of all the traffic in July and what's going on at Hertzner. And then we got to look at what we was doing and how many people were paying out ransoms and how many people were victims. At the end of the day, when we shut them down at Limestone, we cost them $34 million. Bad guys did not take kindly to that, let me tell you. I don't know. I mean, that part of the fight wasn't important to us. I know that we made a really big difference for them. I think the estimates were that they were costing them around 10 grand a month in profit or something. I don't know that that's 100% accurate, so I try not to throw that out there. Like I said, estimates are estimates, but I mean, when we looked at like what was being spun up and what was being stood up and what was used and what they were charging, I mean, I think that's how they came to that rough estimate. So, but if you are an ASN or a provider or infrastructure or something like that and you guys are having a problem, you can always go to our blog, which is on the last thing here, and reach out to us. We've got a PGP key out there. If you guys have problems, you can reach out to us. So, Angler got mad. They didn't like that. And they said, you know, okay, Talos took us down over here. But, you know, as you saw, they were at multiple places. We just saw the two big blue bars across there for the two major ASNs that they were working under, right? So they were still in other places doing other things, but cat's kind of out of the bag, right? So in March, Nick goes to SAS and Nick gives us talk. And he then starts to reveal some other information that we had about the Angler actors. And as soon as he gives his damn talk, I kid you not, the Angler traffic dropped off all of our dashboards. Like they might as well have been sitting in the audience. Serious, right? So we were like, whoa, you don't go making $34 million a year off of a server and just stop what you're doing. Right? We talked about this in the last talk. They went somewhere, didn't they? So we tried to figure out were we not finding them anymore? Well, of course, everybody here understand what regular expressions are, where you look for matching patterns in words and numbers and things like that in strings of text. So one of the ways we detect them is through some regex with URLs and activity and redirects and stuff like that. So in our regex, we looked for the word keywords, you know, a string, got a long URL here, and then you hit a PHP question mark and the next thing. So this string right here was consistent in everything that we had been seeing. Well, they went and changed and took the S off of it. Smart! You know what I mean? Bad guys are smart, especially if we're making rules. Come on now. How many of you here do snort rules? How many here has heard of a snort rule? How many people know what a truffle hunter rule is? How many people know that if you take an antivirus engine's signatures and you reverse them and you invest the time, you can figure out how the signature works? So you can figure out how we found you, right? Okay. So we knew that they were doing this to a degree. But, I mean, what do we do? Not block it? You know, that's not an option. And then another consistency that we had seen was this right here with action and the text that appears before it. And the regex, they changed the word action to mod. Okay, so you had to meet two of these rules, you know, both of these conditions. And then we were like, oh, yep, Angler activity, you can't go there. Like, protect our users from getting content delivered or being redirected or whatever. So then we saw that they had changed to two-stage delivery. So browsers are really nice. Browsers will attempt to be very cooperative. Browsers want to make sure that you get what you want to see, right? So what does star mean? Anything. So except, one more time, except anything. Okay, thank you, browser. We appreciate your cooperation. So, you go and you check and you see they're using who recognized the Flash exploit that's up here? Hacking Ode team? Hacking Team's Ode for Adobe Flash. So they're now doing two-stage delivery. Not only are you going to a URL, now Angler was trying to see if you could be victim or compromised with the Flash Ode. And if you were, then they went ahead and, wrong button. Down here they did the same thing. Delivered you content if you were vulnerable to the Flash compromise, right? Because if you are, you're probably a sucker and haven't done any other updates, and you're probably not secure or being protected any other kind of way, right? So if you've got this vulnerability, the likelihood of me being successful with you is greater than me trying to pick a random victim. I'm picking somebody who already has an indicator that they have a weakness, at least one. So we noticed that. So we responded, again, after Nick's talk, within hours they disappeared. And we noticed that the disappearance, and we were like, oh, yep, okay, they're not gone. What are we doing? We took a step back. We looked at how we were detecting and protecting against them. And we said, aha, I bet you, common sense, in order for this to continue to work, these are things he must keep the same. These are the things that the actors can change. Let's go look and see if they changed these things. We started looking back in traffic. We saw what they changed. We adjusted. Within hours, back up, block and angler, dashboard lights back up for angler blocks. Another thing we'd also noticed was a migration to .top TLDs. Anybody who was in my talk yesterday about malware magnets, okay, .top went on sale. Low cost of entry to do bad things, right? 95% of the TLDs that they were registering, and this was just one snapshot of approximately 2 weeks at the time that we had done this. 700 domains in about 14 days. Of course, they burn them, and anybody else who's doing blacklisting based on domain name, that was also affecting Angler. I don't know why everybody wasn't blocking every .top domain that was ever registered. It's just me. But then again, Cisco's really big. We have a lot of customers that do a lot of things and huge variety in our customer base. So the actions we can take could have derogatory impact on a legitimate businessman's livelihood. So we have to be very careful about what we do because we're global. I mean, we affect governments and private organizations and banks and everything else. So when we say something and we push that out to all of our devices for all of our customers, it could have some really bad negative effects. So we're very mindful about how we blacklist. The smaller your organization, though, you guys have your own risk tolerance level. How many of you think that your employees need to be talking to .top or .tk domains? No. Did you have a quick... Yes, so Cisco security product appliances, basically. So when Talos says this widget thing is bad, don't talk to this, don't interact, however, whether it's email or it's web or whatever it is, and we push that out, it goes out to Cisco appliances. So we can have a pretty big impact, right? So it's kind of like, if you're going to pick a fight, don't pick it with the biggest bully. So a lot of people, even when people were trying to deliver Drydex, literally in the code they had put in there, they checked to see if it was a Cisco appliance or if there was certain tags that they could get the device to respond with, and it said Cisco in any of them, and they didn't attack the device. So that was kind of cool. It's like, well, you're not going to pick a fight with Cisco. The bad guys were going to go attack everybody that didn't use Cisco devices. So I thought that was kind of cute. So these were the other things that we found, and also we found a new gate. A lot of you know what gates are, but basically, gates, whenever there's a communication with a gate, sometimes there's a knock sequence, secret knock. Did I come up? Did I go to this port? Didn't I go to that port? Then I went to this port, and did I send this many packets of data at a time? And the door gets opened, and I can go do bad things, right? So that's when they know when it's their malware or somebody else is trying to hit a domain. You can go to it. Oh, it's benign. It doesn't do anything wrong. Yeah, but when you come with the perfect knock sequence on a certain number of ports on that web server, then you get to go to a whole nother world. So anyway, we saw a new gate as well. And then again, we blogged about it and we talked about it. So what did they do? Change their behavior, right? So this was the first time in May that we started seeing Angler being delivered through phishing campaigns and spam. Had never seen that tactic before. It's very new. So we were like, okay, people were getting an email. Thanks for your order. Right? Please visit our site to view your order. A lot of people would click on that. This was the new gate that we had found that was actually being delivered with spam, through spam. And when you clicked on it and you went to get your order, they processed your order for malware. Most diligently. So this is what you saw on the front, and in the back end you were actually being delivered whatever payload the Angler exploit kit was being used to deliver. So just a quick summary on Angler and the threat landscape. Some people have questions about what appliances, and I'm not here to talk products. I mean, I don't mind the Cisco question, but yeah. So, one of the things we noticed about Angler as well was that we had connected some dots, we had some context, we had some overlap, Nick had noticed, like, okay, well, wait a minute. This email address was tied to this and tied to this. So wait a minute. Now we've got BDEP and Angler working together? We had Kazi being delivered from this person's also delivering this. Angler was tied to Ying90 at Yahoo, but Ying90 was tied to David Bowers, but David Bowers was tied to him. This is registration information, so we started seeing some overlap. For a very long time, they remained pure. There was no cross-pollination between the actors. And then they started making either small mistakes or getting desperate. Or greedy. Probably greedy, right? And then we saw the major arrest earlier this year. Everybody know about the arrest for Alert? What's the golden rule if you're a Russian hacker? What did they do? They got arrested. After they got arrested, this seemed to be the fallout. Like, Angler disappeared. Maybe a connection? Possibly. We also saw some other payloads disappear off the landscape, but we knew it wasn't going to be for long. Like with anything else, when one of the top dogs goes away, a vacuum is created, and it's like an arms race to be the next top dog, right? So we knew that they were going to come back. So for a while, the internet was safe, but not for very long, right? So this was the overall timeline that we saw for the Angler and what happened after the fact. So right now, recently, we've started to see a little bit of Locky and Drydex come back. So that's something else that strategic intelligence for anybody who was here earlier, right? But basically, we saw a very big shift. I'm not much in doing 8-ball magic predictions, but how many of you guys remember, oh God, just lost it. Black world, black hole, oh God, Nick's even got it in his blog too. He's going to shoot me if this recording goes live. Tazz, you don't know? But there's another bad actor a long time ago, and when he got arrested and left the market, then Angler took over being the top dog in the malware space, in the bad guy world, if you will. Angler learned from the mistakes that the other person made when they got arrested as to how they were detected, how they were found, how his malware failed, and Angler just came back more vicious. We expect that the next level of attack is going to be more vicious and more versatile and moving around like the super bounce ball that you just shot out of a pitching machine at 1,000 miles an hour. Yeah, good luck, right? Just more agile, able to adapt and overcome much more quickly. So the internet is not safe anymore, in case anybody didn't know, right? So then one of the other threats that's been in the news lately is SAMSM. Basically, SAMSM attackers got in through JBoss servers, pivoted around in your network, did a lot of recon on your network so they could figure out what they were going to encrypt. SAMSM was different. Ransomware once upon a time, one box, one payout, right? You click my link, you get my ransomware, you pay me, I give you your stuff back, right? Thieves had a little bit of honor, right? They kept their word. They knew that if they didn't give people, if they didn't have a reputation for being a good thief, and that they actually would pay you, I mean, they would actually give you your stuff if you paid for it. So Robin Hood? I don't know. But that was what we had seen in the threat landscape before. Well, when SAMSM came, we noticed a massive shift. That these people encrypted multiple servers in one shot. multiple hosts. I'm not even going to say server because it could have been a desktop client, it could have been a lab, it could have been anything, right? So they encrypt multiple hosts in one shot. Like, it's like having a shotgun with just shells that just shotgun shell blast, right? Like, how did you hit that many boxes at one time? You had to know what I had, right? You had to have some idea that you were able to even be able to encrypt 22 or 25 or 12 or 17, right? You had access to that many on my network. You were able to pivot to that many assets based on that JBoss server that you compromised. In our investigation into this, we found an indicator of compromise/attack. Basically, that if you had web shells on your host, specific web shells were directly tied to SAMSM actors, and then we just kept investigating, and we started getting more full disk images in from peers, clients, colleagues, whatever. We started getting intel from different places. We have like 1,100 threat traps ourselves, right? And so we started getting this and putting the pieces together, and we've come up with a list of over 500 web shells that could exist on hosts that bad guys have been using for years. And we started reaching out to organizations and saying, hey, FYI, and I should know because I was the one helping automate the notification process. Some of them we did automated. Some of them we had to translate into foreign languages to notify the people that they had a problem, that these hosts had web shells on them. And you probably need to go take a look at it. Right now it spans over 100 countries and 2,600 plus hosts that we've identified across the globe. And then to find multiple web shells on the same host indicates what? Maybe multiple attackers leveraging the same box? And that list of web shells is actually available on one of our JBoss blogs if you want it. So then even more recently we saw a Zepto spam campaign. So here's an example. Some of the key points about this is that the signatures included information about people who were in your organization, usually. In some cases, I think the actors did mess up and that they maybe used the name of somebody who wasn't there anymore, which would make sense if nobody ever updated their LinkedIn, right? They left a company. I'm spear phishing and I'm trying to do this. The salutations were personal. Dear, hello, greetings, right? Kind of takes the edge off of a foreign, an email from somebody that you weren't expecting, right? Soften it a little bit. Good psychological tactic. I am sending copies of the documents as attachments. Thank you very much for your reply. There's no sense of urgency, is there? Isn't that something we teach people about phishing? There's a sense of urgency. You need to click now. You need to take care of this now. Your account is going to be locked if you don't do anything. Your card won't be paid. We will lock your credit card if you don't do this. No, these guys are good. Hey, I'm sending copies of the documents as attachments. Subject line, documents copies, right? So all the things we train our users on about security awareness and phishing, right? We might want to change what we're teaching, right? This has no sense of urgency. Very personable, very gentle. How nice of the bad guys, right? They have a little bit of manners. What was actually happening? 137,731, which I just thought was funny that it's all 1s, 3s, and 7s, in 4 days. And of course, this continued actually. The spam campaign did trickle out quickly, and of course, we blogged about it very quickly. These are GMT time zones of when the bulk of the email was sent. Anybody who was in my strategic intelligence talk understands. What does that tell me? What do I learn if I can say that emails were sent or received between a particular time period? Geographical origin. So if you're sending them from these IPs in these countries and you match this time zone and that's your 8 to 5 workday, maybe this is your job, right? But just saying, I'm just making you think, not saying that there's any right answer, right? But we also saw 4 main subjects: report, invoice report, document copies, and financial report. And actually when my colleague wrote it like that, I was like, oh, dude, no, we need, if you're going to capitalize it, let's be consistent. I'm a little Miss Grammar. Let's format the slides and make it right. And then he says, no, Taz, those are actually the syntax that was in the subject line. I was, oh, okay, well, that makes sense. So whether it was capitalized or not, that's exactly as they appeared. So yes, you guys can take these and go back and check your email if you want. But these IOCs are on the blog post for the Zepto spam campaign. And this is a threat grid report. We actually threw some of the samples in there. Again, it was A packed inside of B, packed inside of C, right? So A seen whatever the extension is, packed inside of another extension, packed inside of another extension. So threat grid took it apart, and we've shared this intel, and this information is available with the community on what it does. So at the end of the day, massive spam campaign. I don't like the word campaign because people think that campaign by default means large, right? Would a spear phishing campaign be large in volume? No. So keep that in mind. Okay? See a couple pictures being taken. Okay. Then we got the folks that are all up in your DNS. All up in my Kool-Aid, right? So, DNS exfiltration is not a new concept. It's proven years ago. I think it was actually at a DEF CON talk or whatever. But ironically, the reason I bring this up is because this is recent. Like, what's going on? My poor OpenDNS former fellow here is going, oh my God, we see this all the time. But this is still going on. And DNS seems to be something that we have a tendency to ignore. So basically a system in your network is compromised, and it does a DNS lookup on your local DNS server. Your local DNS server sends out information to the name server for malicious.com, basically saying, hey, do you have top.secret.data? And it sends that full request over here to the bad guy. And the bad guy gets whatever's at the front of his domain, right? Because you've said, hey, do you have this? Right? Give it to him. And then he sends back a response, right? But you've already given him this full, do you have this page? Can you render me this content, right? And he sends back a reply. So, top secret data, though, is a base 32 encoded string. That looks perfectly normal, doesn't it? www.mybank.com, google.com, BOA.com, Spencers.com, JCPenney.com, right? Perfectly normal domain, normal length, right? 3 characters. Mail at ourdomain.com, right? Because everybody has OWA because it's perfectly safe, right? We've all got OWA.mydomain.something. No, I'm giving you shit. So that domain, subdomain length is normally 4 characters, right? Mail. That's typical, average. If we saw that in our traffic, nothing suspicious, right? Server.xyz.domain.com. Okay? 9 characters. If you have an XYZ whatever server, let's hope your naming conventions that you allow at your organization aren't horribly long, right? So that's normal for a 2-level domain. But then you have, see this out in your traffic, a 24-character subdomain. It's not a whole lot of pages at a domain that are going to be 24 characters long that are normal and can be presumed to be safe, right? Usually, notice I'm not using absolute words here, usually this would be considered strange. And let's keep in mind that you probably don't need to be talking to malicious.com anyway. So, just saying, hackmypassword.com, hack my account, please PON me, So what the really smart math people at Talos went and did was they said, you know what? Let's take a look at a whole bunch of subdomains and the length, and let's figure out what normal should be, right? Mathematically. Because if we want to look for this, we don't want our SOC analysts going through trying to manually analyze all of our network traffic, do we? And look at all of our DNS requests. We've got to figure out a way to sort of automate this at least, right? What I say, never a 100% solution, right? We always do as best as we can. Something might get through, right? Okay, so they go out and they modeled the data after they looked at quite a bit of it. And the importance that I want to stress about these slides here is I want you to figure out how we did it. Be less concerned with the fact that the examples I'm showing you, because I want you to take this and go back to your organization and do good where you're at, okay? So that's why I'm explaining the how. And they figured out, if you take the data that we saw and you divide it by what was expected back here, come up with a length somewhere in here. And this starts to make Tazz's head hurt, okay? So we're going to go forward. But I do know that if you take a mathematical formula and you start automatically inspecting data and then you start charting it for me, I know when something doesn't look right, right? I know when something stands out, right? So here we're able to say, okay, wait a minute. We had typical subdomain links here. Then all of a sudden I had a whole bunch of stuff going on that wasn't like the rest of my DNS traffic. Don't you? No. Stop it. 1 second. Of course it does that just as I'm supposed to be getting done with the presentation. So mean. Well, this is the next to last slide anyway, so I'm almost done. What was that all about? Stop it! Oh, now my mouse freezes. Oh, that's not cool. Give me my PowerPoint slides back. Okay. So, in looking at the DNS traffic, base32 encoded machine identifier for which host is it supposed to actually go to. And of course, we had to take out credit card information. I'm not going to share that with you. Evil people. No, I'm joking. So then we would find that there was credit card data being added to the URL that was the DNS lookup was being done for. And ultimately, the DNS lookup was being done on, in this case, these are 3 examples of 3 domains, right, that were known, malware, known to be malicious and associated with malicious activity. So when the DNS requests came in, it knew which machine to send the DNS request to, what data to give that machine, and that machine very politely replied with you, yes, I have that, thank you, appreciate you. Thanks for sending me this little nugget of data, and it's just slowly being trickled out of your organization. 1 credit card at a time. 1 DNS request at a time. So those are some of the things that we're seeing on the threat landscape that are current threats, current issues, current concerns. You look like you're about to explode over there. Andrew's like, no. So, and these are some of the security researchers in our organization. If you guys want to follow any of them on Twitter. Sometimes we will just tweet about something that's going on because we don't have time to write a full blog post. So if you guys want to follow that, and it's hard to see with the black background, but that's at Talos Security with a capital T and a capital S. When we release a new blog about a current threat, normally it's, like I said, tactical intelligence is stuff that's going on right now, how we're fighting it right now, or how we've protected you and how we're defeating it so that you can go find it and defeat it. We don't do FUD blog posts. If we blog about something, we're going to tell you give you something that you can use to go look in your organization to find that information. And again, Tazz did not write any of those. I'm telling you, this is like the coolest group of guys I've ever worked with. It's like having a bunch of big brothers, and they're all super smart. So, but we do collectively work on the projects, you know, like it'll be somebody's primary project. We may help each other out a little bit, but these guys do good work. And this is a lot of the work that they've been doing in the last 6 to 12 months. So, any questions? No? Cool. Well, I'll give everybody back 10 minutes of their life then. Or 2.